All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know, well, we have a couple more people coming in. I might give them another minute or two to log in and so that we can get started with our session. Hopefully everybody will be in within the next few minutes and we can get going with our classroom management using Zoom. I'm so excited that everybody is here. I hope everybody has had a wonderful week so far. If you have any questions while I'm going through the PowerPoint, you can during the PowerPoint, or you can wait until the PowerPoint is over and then we can discuss. I am going to have you working with me throughout the PowerPoint to do some different techniques with the Zoom apps and the different features that Zoom offers for us so that we can see how to engage our students and get them participating in the lessons with us throughout our presentation tonight. So has anybody had anything wonderful happen this week while I give everybody a few more minutes just to make sure nobody else is going to jump in? Anybody want to share anything wonderful that's going on in their classrooms? Or any Zoom features that you already use that you absolutely love? All right, so I am so glad that you all are here. Yes, everybody is sleepy or hungry. It's the middle of the week. Everybody's wanting to get to Friday. So we know how we are as adults. We know that our students probably feel the same way when they're in class, especially when it becomes closer to the end of the day and we're trying to get, our classes wrapped up and they're ready to go home. For sure, we all get to where we're not, don't want to participate, don't want to talk very much. But we're going to try and solve that here in just a minute. I hope that I can engage you. I should have brought some popsicle sticks so that I could call on you since you don't want to share. So yes, let's see. So the questions that are coming in the chat box, I am going to try and answer them as I see them. Private talk to only one student. All right, so yes, there is a way that you can do that. You can put students in breakout rooms, and that's almost like having a one-on-one session with them. So you would put whatever student you needed to talk to you in a breakout room, and it would just be you and that student. And you would be able to participate with them, and nobody else would be able to really hear what the two of you are saying, except the student, the other students in the class, of course, would be able to hear that student talking, because they're all in class together. But you could put them in a breakout room so that only they can hear you, talking back with them. So that was a great question. I hope that helped. And I haven't used breakout rooms very much, but we do have some teachers who use them with great success. So that is for sure something that we can get some practice with. Or if you wanted to go and observe some teachers using breakout rooms, we could definitely set that up. For you to be able to do. Marcy, do we have an interpreter for this meeting?
Yes, she's trying to get in. Just so she should be popping in.
Okay.
What was wrong with the link? So hang on just a minute. See if. She says she is in. Shanna, can you hear me?
Okay. Oh, I see you're up there. Do I need to spotlight her video?
I believe so. Yep.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Laura.
I'm sorry.
I
I think I got the wrong link at first.
That's okay. I have your video spotlighted.
Okay, great.
For this session, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. We are going to talk about classroom management using Zoom. We have a few Zoom toolbar features and how to use them. Of course, we have the unmute and mute button. This button controls whether you can be heard by the participants. So make sure that you unmute yourself so that your students are able to hear you. There are some times where we pop in classes and the teacher is just talking, but they're muted. So always make sure that that is a feature that you make sure is unmuted when you have students coming in your classroom. Your start and stop video, this button controls whether you can be seen by the participants. So we want to make sure that you have your video on 5 minutes before class. Polls are a great feature. You can use polls as a warm-up. So as your kids are coming into class, we want to see them having something to do. Whether it be a poll to answer some questions, or a warm-up, or bell work, an entrance ticket. They can do it in Canvas, or they can do it in the actual Zoom room in the chat box. They can drop it in the chat box for you. But just something for them to do to go ahead and start them working as soon as they log into the class, so that they're just not sitting there idly waiting on the rest of their classmates to log in. So this laser pointer is from PowerPoint. So I have a PowerPoint presentation for y'all, and so I just clicked on the PowerPoint tools, and one of them is a laser pointer, and so that's the one that I have on now. You can also use annotation. If you click on the annotate button in Zoom, there's also a spotlight for that, and it's also a laser pointer as well. So if you're not using a PowerPoint, you can use the annotate spotlight feature, and we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. Does anybody ever use polls when you have students logging in to your classrooms? I'm going to have my popsicle sticks next week. I'm going to start calling on some names. All right, so we have a couple that say at the end of class, not enough. So when you first log into Zoom, you see the poll feature down here at the bottom. So we have our polls down here. So you can click on that button and you can give the students multiple choice questions. I haven't used polls as often this year, but you can set up the polls in your Zoom account, and you can have them for every meeting that you use. And you can put in images, you can put in the questions. It doesn't have to be anything very detailed, just something simple for them to do. And I think you can do up to, I know I've seen up to 10 questions so far for them to do as they're coming in. They just answer those questions and click on it, and then it submits the results to you. Yes, you can use a poll for more than one class. I don't think that it transfers over, but you can definitely add them to each one of your Zoom meetings. Yes, you can do a warm-up question on a PowerPoint slide. You could use the whiteboard feature to draw a question out for the students and let them answer that in the chat box as well. Yes, you can preset the polls. If you go into your Zoom.us Pro account, you can set up the polls for the meetings in your Pro account there, and then it will automatically pop up when the students come into the live session. Yes, I can show you how to set up a poll. I will do that at the end when we have our question section of the PD. I'll show you how to go in and set up a poll. So the participants tabs. Okay, Christy, I'll have to look into that and see. You should have polls, but I'll double check with that and let you know. I know it should show up in your Zoom account, so we'll go to the Zoom account and I'll show you where it is there so that you can set them up. It should pop up on your toolbar. I believe it's there before you're sharing anything, but I'll double check on that just to make sure. So a lot of times in class, if you have your students muted, you can use the participants tab for communication with your students as a nonverbal feedback. So you can ask them yes or no questions. You can ask them if they want you to go slower or go fast. There's this wonderful little thing here called more. A lot of times if you're asking questions, are you good to go with the students, they can give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If they need to be away from their computer, they can put the little clock button there, and that's just to let you know as the teacher that they've walked away from the computer for a minute. Maybe they had to go to the restroom, but they need to be away. Or maybe they've been called to the office so that you know that they're not there. So you can use this for a quick assessment to get the students participating with you. And it will pop up a little symbol beside their name. So if you click on the participants tab now, you should be able to see the nonverbal feedback. And I would like everybody to click on the green yes check button for me. Okay, very good, guys. Great job. So that is how you can use the nonverbal feedback in your Zoom classroom for your students to be able to participate. That's just one more way that they can show you that they're in class and that they're listening. Any questions about that? So probably the biggest thing when we are in classes with our students, because we want to be able to talk with them, but we also don't want them to misuse the microphones. So when you first go into class, you can make it where everybody is muted, and you can allow the participants to unmute themselves. Now, if your students cannot control themselves with the microphones and they're wanting to unmute themselves and breathe into the microphone to make it very hard for everybody to hear, or there's, a lot of that, sometimes we get feedback and it's a screeching noise, you can uncheck this box and then you will be in control of the microphone. So then you would have to call on the students and unmute themselves to let them speak to you. But you can do that to have that control in the classroom if you need it. I always try to start off with allowing the students the control of unmuting themselves and then muting themselves back when they answer a question or explain a math problem to me. But sometimes we just have some of those students who just can't take on that responsibility. So if you need to, you can always uncheck this button right here, and then you have the control of the microphones. Just remember to continuously ask your students questions, unmute them, let one of them answer the question, and then mute them back. Any questions about the microphones or how to unmute or mute? Eric, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I have a major problem with feedback, even though I only have one student going. So I'm just wondering if there's any tricks to dealing with it.
Is it feedback from all of the computers, or is it just one computer in particular?
Haven't been able to pin that down, but it seems it's not just one, let's put it that way. I think part of it is I have my TA usually unmuted, so I'm going to try muting her first before I then unmute other students. But
yeah,
that has, yeah. Actually, I do have one more question. There are times when I will try and unmute a student and I keep pressing and pressing and pressing and pressing, and it will not let me unmute them. Could it just be a connection issue, or is there some way that students are able to block my unmuting them, or?
I think there's a delay sometimes.
Okay, that's what I suspected.
Yeah, I think there's a delay when we click unmute, when we have them muted, and if you have it where you have the control of them, I think that there's just that delay. And if you click it and stop for a minute, usually it will go ahead and fix itself and it'll unmute them. But I think that's just something to do with Zoom. Yeah, I think that's just the delay that we end up, having.
All right, sounds good.
Do they have headsets in the classes where you're getting the feedback?
A lot of them do, but yeah, I think that might be part of the issue as well.
So I would try to mute everybody and then just including the TA's computer, and then unmute one student to see if you're still getting that feedback.
Okay then. Yeah. Sounds good.
All righty. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. So what happens when you hit the more button beside unmute all? So we know that there's that more button that is there. So you can click on this when you first log into your Zoom sessions. I would always uncheck this one, allow participants to rename themselves, because sometimes we have those students who want to rename themselves and be very funny with their names. So I would unclick this one. Once you're in the classroom, you can not put them in the waiting room anymore. I usually uncheck this and I make sure that the chime is there so that I can hear when the students are coming in and out of class. And then these two here, mute participants on entry. That's just going to make sure that as they're coming into your Zoom, they're already muted. Now, if you're allowing them to unmute themselves, they might unmute themselves once they come into the classroom. So you'll have to decide whether or not they can handle having that responsibility or not having that responsibility of being able to unmute and mute themselves back. But you can always uncheck that if you need to take control of the microphones if necessary. And then this button down here is the lock meeting button. So if you have students who are going in and out of the meeting, or if you have students that you need to remove from the meeting for some reason, you can lock it so they can't come back in, okay? So this would be if you have a severe behavioral issue with a student, if they are just not following your procedures, they're not following the rules, and they are being a complete disruption to everybody else in the class, then I would remove them and then lock them out. Let your TA know, okay? You can also send an email to us or to your CSS person to let them know that you have had to take this additional step. But that is an option to do that in those severe cases where you have a student who's just being severely disruptive. Okay, so I just wanted you to know that that is an option, that you can lock it where nobody can enter back in. Any questions about any of the mute all, unmute all, or these additional features here that are under the More button? Okay. So the whiteboard and annotation. We are going to actually use this feature. I'm going to share the whiteboard with us in just a minute, and I want us to actually work on the whiteboard together, just like you can in your classroom. So with the whiteboard, you can use this feature to work out problems, explain your steps, use visuals, you can draw tables, graphs, and you can actually let the students work out a problem as well on the whiteboard. So they can annotate on the whiteboard or on the PowerPoints that you're sharing with them. They can actually annotate from their computers as well. So we're going to put that into practice in just a few minutes. So we'll have to try that. I've done copy, text, and paste before, so I'm not sure why you're not able to do that, but I'll try and look into that and see why it wouldn't let you copy the text and paste it. I do that all the time, so I'm not sure if there's maybe something that is checked off in your account that's not allowing you to, but we can definitely work on that. So we have the different features. You have your select tool, you have your text. So that means that it might be due to updates, yes. Are you copying and pasting into a text box? Normally I'll click on text and then I'll put my my mouse cursor in there and click, and then I paste into the text box. So maybe that is what we need to work on and do. Okay, all right, that sounds good. Then you have your draw feature. You can do little stamps. You have stars, check marks, hearts. There's an X. There's several different stamps, and we're gonna play with those in just a minute. That's your spotlight right here. So that's your lasered pointer that you can use. Of course, you have your eraser. Your format gives you all different kinds of colors to use for annotation. You can undo or redo if you accidentally erase something. You can undo it. You can clear off all of your drawings. You can clear off all of the participants' drawings, or you can just clear off everything altogether. And then, of course, you can save. Now, if you find that students cannot handle the annotation, or if you don't want them to be able to annotate for a particular problem or at a particular time, you can always click on this right here to disable the participants' annotation. That way they will not be able to draw. So my computer is a touch screen, so I do have a stylus, and I write straight on my computer as I am annotating with my students. There's also tablets that you can buy, a Wacom tablet. I also have an XP Pen tablet that I can use with my laptop because it's not a touch screen, but you can, a stylus is the easiest way to when you're annotating, of course, instead of using a mouse. But if you don't have a touch screen, then you would. Yes, so I watched the class the other day, and the teacher was using, oh gosh, she told me what it was. It was some kind of notebook type app on the iPad, and it was awesome. I loved it. She was using it instead of the whiteboard, but it was a whiteboard. It was just not the Zoom whiteboard, and she had that shared on her screen, and she was doing the same thing as the annotation in Zoom. But just whatever you're comfortable using. You can use the whiteboard from Zoom, or if you want to use the, a whiteboard app, you could do that as well. So you can disable the participants, and then you can also show the names of the annotators. So if you want to see which students are annotating, you can also, have their names pop up so that you can see. And then if you're ever sharing anything that needs the sound to be shared, make sure that you click on Share Computer Sound, either under the More right here, or when you click on the share button to share a screen, you'll see that down there at the bottom of that. So just make sure that you have that little check mark besides Share Computer Sound if you're sharing anything with your students that they need to be able to hear. Any questions about that? And then our chat feature. So how often do we use the chat? So you can use the chat if you want students to have a discussion with other students, with you, or you can have them using the chat as private messages between you and them. I've found that a lot of times students will ask questions if they know that their classmates don't know that they've asked a question. So I would always tell my students, if you have a question, you can message me privately, and then nobody knows that you are asking me a question. Nobody has to know that you don't know the answer or that you need help. So these little, the little remarks, the little 3 dots that's there, you can, yes, you can save the chat. Yes, private messaging in math. Yes, for sure, because students do not want other students to know that they don't know how to do those math problems, and they are very self-conscious. I love using the private chat. That's great. You can allow them to chat with nobody. You can allow them to only chat with you, everyone publicly, or everyone publicly and privately. Now, normally I would have it checked by host only, just so that they are talking to just me, because I don't want side conversations going on in the chat. You want to try and eliminate as much distraction from the class as you can. So having the private chat is what I would do to help with that classroom management and to kind of cut down on the extra distractions with them chatting with their friend that might be sitting across the room from them. Yes, side conversations, and then you switch it over to host only, and then they start coming to you before they realize that it's a private message, for sure. So I would always have it set on private. that would just be, for me, that would be what I would do, just to make sure that, number one, you don't have side conversations, you're cutting down on those distractions, and then students feel safe and secure to come to you with a question about what you're learning or what you're teaching them in class, so that they know that everybody else around them is not going to know that they've asked that question. Any questions about that? Okay, so what we're going to do now, I am going to share the whiteboard. And I want you to annotate. I would like for you to write your name. So you have the option to be able to annotate, so you should be able to draw using your mouse, because I do not have the, I don't have it disabled. So let's see if we can annotate. Somebody's annotating for us. So you see how now we can see the name of the person that is annotating. So I clicked on show names of annotators, and so it tells me who is annotating. So in your toolbars, you should be able to see, or either in the little three little buttons, you should be able to see something that says annotate. Do y'all not see that? Lynn, where do you see your annotate? It's from the host.
I picked the view options up at the top.
Okay, view options, and then it tells you to annotate.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Does everybody see the view options? Christy, do you see the view options? Is it at the top, Miss Lynn? You can do draw or you can do text. Yeah, you could, either one.
Mine shows right up at the very top.
Up at the very top, okay.
Right where I put that second star. I don't know if you can see it or not. It says you are viewing Shauna Error, MD, department, chair, screen, and then view options, and I hit the down arrow on view options.
Okay, does everybody see that? So you can draw or you can text. Okay, now you do. Great job. So if you click on view options, it should give you the options to draw or to text. So those three little, no, you cannot, you can't. So, and you should see my screen, my whiteboard on your screen. And then you should be able to click on view options so that you can either text or draw on my whiteboard. Okay, so if you're on the whiteboard, I know you have the side by side. So on the whiteboard itself, Can you make it a little bit bigger so that you can see the options, just to see if you can find view options? Okay. So now I have disabled participant annotation. So you would not be able to annotate any longer. How did everybody like that feature? So can you see how students would love to be able to work with you on problems as you're working on them in class and being able to spotlight their work? Yes, so to do your whiteboard, to find your whiteboard, you would click on Share. And then one of the options that pops up is the whiteboard, and you would click on that. It's okay, Ann. It's not a problem, I promise. Yes, kids that want to hide won't be able to hide anymore. That is correct. Very true. So I stopped the share. I wanted to, Ann, do you want to see if you can share your whiteboard for us? If you want to practice pulling up the whiteboard, okay. Do you want to share your whiteboard? Yes. Very good. So everybody sees Ann's whiteboard now. Up at the very top, as long as you have the whiteboard full screen, you should see the view options again, and then the annotate and then you're able to actually draw our text, and you can annotate. So this is an awesome feature that you can use in your classroom, especially my math teachers. You can write out a problem or type out a problem and pick on a student and let them annotate and work out that problem for you in class. This is a great way to get them engaged. And another way, if we can get those students hooked and engaged in our lessons, they're going to be more willing to work for us, and they are going to want to come into class, and they're going to be ready to show off everything that they know for whatever subject that they're learning that day. This is something that you could use as a warm-up as well. Let them tell you how their day has been so far. Just something quick, you know, something quick and easy. How has your day been? Write me a message on my whiteboard. Make sure it's school appropriate, but you can use the whiteboard and have a good time. Okay, great job, guys. I hope that this is something that you will be able to use in your classrooms. You know, that you will be able to use in your classrooms and the kids will love. You are very welcome. Yes, very welcome. Thank you so much, Anne, for sharing your whiteboard with us. I appreciate you doing that. Thank you so much. Any other questions? So breakout rooms was one of the other questions that we were asked. So really quick before we end this session, I'm going to put everybody in a breakout room so that you're all separated. Now, you can do breakout rooms. When you click on breakout rooms, it's going to tell you to create a breakout room. It will give you the number of participants that you have in the class, and then it will ask you to assign those participants into how many rooms. So if you wanted to do 3 rooms and you want it to automatically place those people, those students in those rooms so that it's just random, it will do that for you. So that's what I'm going to do now. So you might not see me or you might not hear anything until I come to your room, okay? And if you want to assign specific people to rooms, you can do that as well. So I'm going to assign you to rooms. You've all been invited to join the breakout room. I'm waiting on 2 to come back in. The breakout rooms will automatically close. So if you do have students who are stuck in the room, it will push them back into the main session. It gives them a minute to come out. So that should be everybody. The breakout rooms will automatically close within 60 seconds once you close the rooms, and then everybody will be back into the main session once again. So now that my session started, I don't see the poll feature, so I'm thinking it must disappear when you start getting participants in, because you normally would do a poll at the beginning of the class, or either have it already set up. So if anybody would like to meet with me later and work on polls, just let me know, or I can go in and kind of screenshot some stuff and send out an email to let you know how to set them up. Okay, thank you all for coming. If nobody has any other questions, I'm going to let you all go, and y'all have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you coming.